We putting work, turning nothing into something. They feelings hurt, we turning nothing into something. Give a fuck if they don't like me, cause all this bread I count excites me. Turning nothing to something, nothing into something, turning nothing into something.
What up, what up, what up? What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Apologies for that. Little technical difficulties there to start, but what do you expect from a rookie, a novice like me who doesn't know what the hell he's doing? Blunt thoughts, blunt mistakes, all that good stuff. It's been a while, right? It feels like it's been forever, but it really hasn't. It really hasn't. It's been a week and a day as we did our last show last Monday. We're back to Tuesdays now. You know, we did it a day earlier the last 2 weeks because of the holidays. And hope everybody's had a good holiday. Some people are probably still on their holiday. I know probably next week is when everybody really gets back into motion and back into the regular routine. But like I said, hope everybody's doing well. And looking forward to the show tonight. Looking forward to having some fun. Listen, it feels like it's been forever, but there's still really not much to discuss if you really think about it. It's still the same old thing. We still have the standoff between the Mets and Pete Alonso and how that's going to work out. You hear little different things now as to what they may be the alternate path that the Mets may take if they don't, come to a contract with Pete Alonso, a reunion with Pete Alonso. We now hear the Mets, may have met with Tanner Scott. We're still waiting to see what happens with Roki Sasaki. There's been some rumors, some news coming from that. And, just our thoughts. What do we see so far? Listen, is David Stearns trying to win in 2025? All of those things. We're going to talk about all of that. Our boy Hayden is going to join us. But before that, before we get into all that, before Hayden joins us, I wanted to do the right thing. And I wanted to honor the captain, right? As we found out, we had heard rumblings. It's officially been announced that Captain America, David Wright, his number will be retired. What is it, July 19th? And he will be entered into the Hall of Fame. So just wanted to start the show by, giving him his props and a little honor. And like I said, wanted to just share a little video and stuff of his career real quick. So let's do that. And maybe I should turn down this stupid basketball game, right? Who the hell wants to hear this?
There's David Wright's first big league hit.
One of the most highly publicized young players to come around in a long time. They get the ball for David Wright, and the fans on their feet here at Shea Stadium. How about that for your first major league hit?
Wright hits one deep to left field. Near the wall, it's out of here! Big hitter, big spot, big hit. David Wright, the 23-year-old stud third baseman from the Mets, took a delivery and shot it over the wall and left to tie this game at 1. 2-2 to Wright. Into the air to center field. David going back to the warning track. It's over his head and the Mets win it. A tremendous win for the Mets tonight on David Wright's walk-off hit. David Wright with a walk-off knock. And Team USA moves on to the semis. And with that, David Wright becomes the Mets' all-time RBI leader. What a play by David Wright. Little dribbler, that might be it. The barehand throw skips away from first base. Congratulations to David Allen Wright, Mets all-time hits leader. Career hit number 1,419.
Been a blessing, a pleasure to play for you guys from day one. The Mets fans have had my back. I take a lot of pride in putting this uniform on every day, trying to play hard in front of those fans every day. I promise you that I'm going to give everything I have out there to bring a championship back to Queens, and there's a lot of good times to come.
Holy smokes! The captain is back. He hits one into the upper deck in left field. Unbelievable. Phillies 3, Mets 1. Soak it in.
He launches one, deep center field. Back goes Bourgeois to the warning track. Back at the wall, it's out of here! David puts the icing on the cake with a 3-run homer. And it's in there, strike 3 called. The Mets win the pennant. The New York Mets have won the National League pennant. Put it in the books.
You know, I can't describe the emotion and the feeling that's going through me right now. I mean, you know, for me individually, yeah, it's been a long year, it's been a long road, but to be able to taste this, to be able to comprehend that the New York Mets are going to the World Series, I mean, I'd do anything to do that. I truly bleed orange and blue. The love and the support and the respect from inside and outside the organization has meant the world to me. You'll never have any idea how much it means to me.
I apologize, guys. I can't believe I've been on mute this whole time. Sorry about that, y'all. Like I said, oh man, I went through all that. Wanted to start the show by honoring David Wright once again. Someone who, for me, who's old enough to have seen this guy play his entire career, from being drafted, seeing him come through the minors, hearing about coming up through the minors. And it was different then than it is nowadays when you have all the information there every day at your fingertips. Back then you had to buy certain publications, or you hear about it. Sometimes it was a special, whatever the heck sports channel or whatever the heck the Mets were being covered back then, or whatever it was. And then you see him, make his debut in July 21st, 2004, I believe it was, which now is going to be 20 years almost to the day where they're going to retire his number and put him in the Mets Hall of Fame. Someone who was a great Met, who wore the uniform proudly, who grew up a Mets fan because the Mets used to train or had one of their minors, I think in the AAA was where he grew up out there in Virginia back in those days, and comes up, 7-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove, 2-time Silver Slugger. We know 2015 big home run against the Royals. Even before that, against the Phillies when he came back from the injury, and just a great career, fun to watch. Unfortunately, cut short because of the back injury and all of that stuff. But as I give my thoughts on that, someone who's a little bit younger than me, who may have a different impression of David Wright, and who's here to join us tonight, and we'll start with getting his thoughts on that. We'll bring up my guy Hayden and see how Hayden is doing here on this lovely evening as I struggle here to do what I got to do. But what's up, Hayden? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, Hector? Appreciate you having me on.
No, man.
Yeah, you want me to just dive right into it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for joining, man. Listen, it's only right. Let me say this. It's only right. I tried to have Hayden on before, and that day, if you join us regularly, we also had Anthony McCarron on. So it got a little crazy, and Hayden and I couldn't really chop it up too much. We got involved more with Anthony than anything. So had to have my guy back. So it's long overdue. How you doing, brother? Again.
Yeah, what's going on? No, thanks for having me on. I was going to say, I think we'll save the introduction. I think most people know me fairly well by now, but yeah, Mets Talk with Hayden is the name. Hector, obviously, thanks for having me on. Yeah, David Wright, I mean, definitely, you look at Mets in the past, you ask that question, who's one of your favorite all-time Mets? obviously I'm 22 years old. I was born 2002. I was 4 years old about when David Wright made his, was he 2004 is his rookie year?
2004, I believe.
Never
Yeah.
mind. I was 2 years old and I was thinking 2006 for whatever reason, but never mind. So I was 2 years old when he made his debut. But I grew up childhood watching David Wright. I mean, that squad of David Wright, Jose Reyes, Beltran, Delgado. David Wright was my favorite player by far. You see, I have his jersey right up there, hung it up, 2015 World Series jersey. And David Wright was by far my favorite player. I remember playing Little League, always choosing the number 5 because of David Wright. I always wanted to play third base. Didn't work out super well, but that's besides the point. But, David Wright just, one of the all-time Met greats. I mean, you look at the older generation, sure, they may say Doc, they may say Seaver, Strawberry, Piazza, whoever. But you look at the more frequent and the younger people, and David Wright is historically, you look at the statistics as the Mets, he's the leader in most of them. We'll see if a certain particular guy that we'll talk about on the stream later can break those. It's certainly possible, but we'll save that for later. But yeah, David Wright, I mean, it's unfortunate, that his career ended the way it did. It sucks that spinal stenosis and injuries really unfortunately destroyed his career. It is what it is. There's moments where you look back and I think there was that play against the Astros where he slid into third base to tag the runner out, and they say that was the play that kind of messed up his back, and there was some it is whatever. But David Wright, one of the all-time greats, arguably a big reason why a lot of people my age became a Met fan, minus living in Long Island. But David Wright was that guy. So
for a while, where there was
tip of the cap,
a little while there was nothing really to root for, right? And it was just really him and Reyes, and then just him by himself for a little bit there before, then you had the pitchers come up, and little by little we got towards 2015. But it's just something you said that, like for us older guys like me, it was a big deal when they retired Keith Hernandez's number, when they all go ahead and now retire Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden. And, with Keith got a big crowd, but Keith is still like in the everyday with the Mets, so the young fans know Keith and have an attachment to Keith that I don't think they have to a guy like Tom Seaver. That, to be honest with you, I don't even have, right? Because I'm not old enough to have that attachment with Tom Seaver, but I do have it with a Dwight Gooden. I do have it with a Darryl Strawberry and those guys. So, but it'll be interesting to me to see now, because I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed with the show out for Dwight Gooden's ceremony this year. And it was on a bad date. It was early in April. It's still cold. People don't really want to go out to ball games. To make it even worse, it was rain that day. And it was still a decent crowd, but not like I thought it should be. And for Darryl, I wasn't able to make it out myself, but it also didn't seem like, it should have been the crowd that I felt like it should be. So I'll be interested to see if more people come out, and I think they will. Like you said, because he's the more recent guy that we know that's carried the torch. And then when you look at the record books, like you said, he's all over them too.
And like you said, you brought up a great point. You look at a lot of the time David Wright's career, you look at 2006, unfortunate what happened in 07 and 08 with the collapse, whatever. You look at 2015, maybe a little bit of 2013, there were some special moments, but you look at most of Wright's career, and there wasn't all, he didn't really have a whole good team built around him for a majority of his career. It's not like now where, you have Lindor, Soto, Nimmo, McNeil, whoever it is, Alonso. He unfortunately didn't really, have that star talent, which is, really the unfortunate thing. So, really tip of the cap to Pete, to David Wright for really just the career he had. Like I said, it's unfortunate. Career ended the way it did, but I think he will go down as one of the best Mets ever. Do I think he's a Hall of Famer? I think he's in the Hall of Very Good. Yeah, I mean, David Wright. I mean, I could sit down here for hours and say it, but I will.
No. Listen, all good. Like I said, we just it was only right to start the show where we're giving him his props. And you kind of alluded to this a little bit. When you said that there's another guy we may talk about, and you talk about the history books, and even playing your entire career with a team and all that. There's already a guy on the team that has that opportunity in Brandon Nimmo, right? Who was afforded an extension, or not an extension, but a long-term contract, and it's pretty much set up to be a Met for life, depending on how his career ends up, and maybe they trade him towards the end, and now who the hell knows? Or he goes out somewhere else for another contract after this one dies out. But the conversation continues to be Pete Alonso, as the Pete Alonso saga continues. And, to me, it's been pretty much the same stalemate, the same stuff for the last couple of weeks. But before we get into the comments and where we are, we may or may not be, what are your thoughts on the Pete Alonso situation, since we haven't spoken about it so far this offseason? But I know you're a big fan of his, right? Am I wrong? I remember during the roundtables when Rob would go at him, sometimes you would stand up with me and defend him a little bit. And then after a while, even we had to step back and come on, Pete, you got to get it going, brother. But what are your thoughts now on how this has gone and where it may or may not go?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at with the Pete Alonso development. I said it last stream. I've said it this whole offseason is, get the job done. You brought in Soto, and now it kind of comes to David Stearns and Steve Cohen. Break out that checkbook. Get the deal with Pete done. I don't need to sit here and talk about why I want to bring him back. I think that's been obvious. I find it funny. People want to bring in Vlad. I get the offensive numbers with Vlad, but you talk about defense. Everyone says, oh, Stearns wants to build this defensive great team. Go on Fangraphs or any defensive metric stats and look at Vlad's defensive numbers. Tell me how they are. They're worse than Pete's. All of his statistics, DRS and OAA for the 5 years of Vlad's career are all in the negatives minus 1 year. So it's just a little interesting thing to bring up there. But like I said, when it comes to Pete, get the job done. I think right now it's unfortunate that Scott Boras is the dude that represents him. I think Scott Boras has screwed him over this year badly. People are saying that, Pete's going to become the next Michael Conforto victim. And, we've seen recently, right, that Scott Boras has pushed his guys to free agency, pushed them really to get every penny that they want. We saw with guys last year like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery didn't sign till spring training, and they're pitchers. So, that's really something that's worrisome. You look at a guy like Pete too. He's first baseman. We know his athletic capabilities, whatever he is, we know what he's capable of. Him being, pushed till, February, March, that's not a good idea. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's January. I mean, listen, the fact that guys like Paul Goldschmidt signed before Pete. I mean, you want me to be honest with you? I thought Pete Alonso would have been the first baseman to sign in the offseason. And I thought guys like Paul Goldschmidt and Josh Bell, whoever, would have been teams' alternates to Pete Alonso. But in reality, Pete Alonso is the alternate to those guys. I think it's tough. I think right now we saw there was a tweet that, Scott Boras made the similarity of this Prince Fielder type contract. And I don't know what Scott Boras is drinking. I don't know how much Jim Beam he's had, but there's no shot in a million years that dude's getting an 8-9 year deal with that much money. I mean, I don't see, 9 years, $214 million. I don't see anyone. I'm sorry if that's what Pete's asking for. See ya, Pete. Mark Vientos, you're a first baseman. There's no shot in a million years that Alonso is unfortunately worth that money, or yet alone getting that 9 year deal. I don't feel comfortable giving Pete a 9 year deal. I think, and like we've seen, teams are reluctant to give it to him. No team really wants him in baseball. I shouldn't say that, but in reality, I said it. Rob said it. I said it a lot this season and the beginning of the offseason. Pete Alonso's not a very well-popular player around baseball. He's not. Teams don't value him the same way that the Mets do. And I hate to say this, he's a valuable Met. Would he be the same value on another team? Probably not. I think Mets, obviously, we have a little bit more sympathetic and emotion because, he's homegrown, all this records, 53 home runs, whatever. Teams aren't going to value that as much. And, a team like the Nationals, he probably asked for, a big deal and they laughed him out of the room.
Right.
3-4 years, an opt-out sprinkled in, and I'm talking 115 to 130 in a good day, 150 if they're feeling really lucky, 160, but I don't see anything getting that much. I just don't really see a world where Pete gets a plus 5-year deal with that much money. But I'm sorry, Scott Boras has ruined Pete Alonso this free agency so far. So
Right. No, and that's the sad part, right? And you touched on a lot of it. That's funny you mentioned this because I was thinking about bringing this up, and it's and I don't think. Listen, when I saw this, I was like, what kind of drugs is this guy doing? There's no way in heck you're thinking about Pete Alonso in these terms right now. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm like, okay, he definitely can't be looking for 9 years. He definitely cannot be looking for 9 years, especially when we've heard that the most he's gotten is the 3 years, $90 million offer with the Mets with options that the Mets have made to him. I haven't heard of any other team has made this kind of offer. You know what I'm saying? You haven't heard, these are the numbers that are being thrown around like you heard for Juan Soto. Obviously not at that level, but at any level. And that is the sad part. That is the bad part for Pete Alonso. And that's why for me, like I said in my last show, is it's time for Pete Alonso to take control of the situation. I think a lot of these the times guys that are being represented for by Scott Boras, kind of let him handle the situation. And and everybody handles it differently. They come back and I think right now is time, like I said before, for Pete Alonso first to recognize, because maybe he hasn't recognized. I've been thinking about this the last few
reality
days.
check.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this though the last few days, Hayden, and I don't remember exactly when it was. I think it was like right before the All-Star break. I don't remember if it was after he was voted into the All-Star that he said he was asked a question about how his season is going and how he felt about his season was going, or was he worried about? I forget the question, but the point is his response made me sick.
Yeah.
And it was I remember doing a video talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, I think I'm doing great. I'm having a great year," and it was like, "What? Are you crazy, Pete? Like, are you not paying attention? Like," and I was like, maybe he's. I even said he's under some like positive life coach or something, or just trying to always have a good mentality or whatever, to not succumb to the pressure where he ended up succumbing to anyways, because he didn't really handle it too well. So I say that my point is maybe Pete is still in denial himself.
Yes. Yeah.
About what he's worth and how many years he should get.
I think the thing with you have to look at Pete, and we said it, and I hate to devalue the guy, but I'm sorry, Pete Alonso is not valuable. And in my opinion, I feel the Mets are really the only team that value him the way that we do. Like I said, we have those things, like I said, the history, 53 home runs, homegrown, whatever. But I love Pete. He's one of my favorite players. You take away his power, he doesn't offer much. He plays first base. He's not a shortstop. He's not an outfielder. He's not an on-base percentage guy. He doesn't offer speed. He's a great power hitter. I'll give him that. But outside of that, unfortunately, he's not 21 years old. If he was 21 years old, then yeah, I'd give him a.
And that's another thing. Deal. When Prince Fielder signed that contract, he was 28.
Yeah.
Pete is now 30 years old, and I was looking at some of the numbers, and like I'm
That Prince
sorry.
Fielder conch, you know.
I'm sorry.
And look how Prince Fielder ended. I mean, that was
and listen. To be fair, I don't remember exactly how Prince Fielder. I don't know if he got hurt. I don't know if it was a degenerate thing. That with his neck and back or whatever the case may be. I don't remember how it came about, but I was looking at it earlier because I wanted to see and there's like no comparison. If you look at Prince Fielder's last 2, 3 years, 4 years before he signed that contract, the only comparison is that they both played a ton of games. I believe Prince Fielder signed the contract in 2012. Well, 2009, 162 games. 2008, 100 from 2006 on, the dude played 157 games or more. He played 162 in 2009, 161 in 2010, 162 in 2011, and then signed the contract in 2012. So, in that sense, I guess they're similar. But then when you look at the numbers, Prince Fielder with a batting average, I go from 2009 on, where he's batting 299, 261, 299, 313 in 2012. That's when but 276 in 2008, 288 in 2007, Okay, maybe Pete blows him away in home runs. Prince Fielder hit 50 in 2007, then it was a 34, 46, 32, 38. OPS 1.013 in 2007, 879 in 2008, 1.014 in 2009, 871 in 2010, 981 in 2011. You can argue that he went down a little bit, but he's still at a higher level than what Pete was. So there's no way that you can look at it and quantify and say, yes, this is the contract that Pete Alonso should be going after. Maybe somewhere in between that and, now Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman and all of that. But I don't know what the hell Scott Boras is thinking. He's making Pete Alonso look extremely bad, in my opinion, right now. And Pete Alonso is responsible for it, too. You hired the guy. He works for you. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you need a reality check. Like I've been saying for a couple of weeks already, you need a reality check. I'll be honest, Hayden, and you heard me speaking. I went out there with Rob back and forth a couple of times. I saw, a couple of the comments we bring up. And you guys, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to the 200 plus people watching us right now. And man, over 100 plus comments in the chat. Full disclosure, I got somebody helping me out behind the scenes. You guys know how I do it. The comments come up. That's my way of saying hello. If I can't get to it, we will try to get to your comments. But I saw that some of the comments came up. That's by my guy Quay's helping me out behind the scene, kind of being like a little producer or whatever you want to call it. We're just having a little fun, ladies and gentlemen, just having a little fun, trying to learn, trying to grow here, and just trying to have fun with everybody. But what I was going to say is I even went back and forth with this about this with Ramos, Carlos Ramos, because he's been saying for a long time, listen, Pete is not worth this, Pete is not worth that, first baseman don't get, and I was like, to hell with that. Pete is a 50 home run guy. What are you talking about? He's going to drive in 100 plus RBI. Pete plays average defense, Pete this, Pete that. But the truth is, I was wrong. And unfortunately for Pete, maybe we'll be surprised. But there is going to be, I don't know if there's going to be Pete Alonso and the San Francisco Giants agreed to I don't know, 8-year blah contract like we had the Arson Judge. That'll then cause them to reverse course. And maybe there's that meeting between Pete and Steve Cohen, and they figure something out along the lines of, I don't know. But it ain't going to be 8 years. It ain't going to be 9 years. Even if there is a Pete Alonso announcement, what can it be? Maybe 5 years? The Giants say, you know what, we'll give you 5 years, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I really don't see a world where Pete gets a lengthy multi-year deal. I think it's probably going to be a 3-4 year deal, with an opt-out sprinkled in, an option, either or. 30 years old. I mean, he's not like the Mets are going to be wanting to rely on this guy heavily and financially, 6 years from now, 5 years from now. And I think the Mets know that. Scott Boras is Scott Boras. And I think, I think it's pretty obvious Pete Alonso was a fool, in my opinion, for last year not taking the offer that the Mets gave him. And you want me to be honest? I think at the end of the day, Pete Alonso was going to get less this offseason than what the Mets originally offered him last offseason. And I think that is going to
It's sure looking like it, even if
and
not
I
in
think
AAV, definitely in years.
Yeah, and I think it's going to work out the Mets' way exactly. I think the Mets are smiling right now because it's working out pretty darn good for them, contrary to what Pete Alonso, and I don't think he had Boras last year, did he?
No. When that offer was made, I believe he had his prior agents, and that's when he got rid of the agents and went to Scott.
Well, even still, and I mean, obviously, I don't think the Mets and Alonso would have worked out a contract during the regular season. I thought Pete Alonso going into a contract year, playing in a contract year was horrible. I said that for the last 2-3 years, and I mean, you could say how it was. I mean, you saw the postseason and whatever. I guess that's up for you to debate.
Yeah, but, I don't knock him for that too much. I think maybe there was a path for them to come to a contract, maybe his 3rd year in the league, even 4th year. But you know how it is. Once the player gets to that 5th year and they can smell that 6th year coming around,
right,
and free agency, is extremely hard to get him to agree to an extension. Like, you got to really, really, really come correct with it, And then we know if they're a Scott Boras client, the likelihood of that is almost 0 to none. It happens every now and then. I've said it myself. Some guys do it, and it's up to them. I mean, listen, what's his name? Matt Chapman did it this year with the Angels, with the Giants, right? He signed an extension, and he's a Boras client. So guys do it. But we kind of saw the writing on the wall that Pete was gonna get here. It's just like I said, unfortunately for him, there's less of a market than I think anyone could have predicted. There really is less of a market than anyone could have predicted. I mean, listen, there was talk that the Cubs would go hard after Pete. There was talk that Milwaukee will go hard after Pete. And so on and so forth. And none of those teams, now a lot of those teams already have pivoted and signed. I think we lost Hayden. Hayden's like frozen in time there. But yeah, that's the problem with P2. I think no one, even the biggest P detractors, which there are many, and they keep growing by the day, and they get louder and louder and louder. But I don't think even they could have predicted that it was going to be this bad for Pete Alonso. As we wait for Hayden to come back, he's having technical issues. But we'll see how it goes. Right now, I think the next step, because why would the Knicks move? Like many people have said, the Knicks. I looked up at the screen. I have TNT on, and I see Quentin Grimes' name, and it makes me think about the Knicks. It's a whole nother mess, anyways. But where were we? There's no reason for the Mets to extend themselves right now, as you hear over and over and over. For what? For what? Unless Scott Boras makes up some kind of offers, right? Which we'll start hearing, John Heyman come out with such and such team. We're hearing that offer, this and this. And unless you get some of that, why? And even then, why would the Mets move from their 3 years, $90 million with an opt-out? Only if they say, you know what? And the only way is maybe, again, if Pete Alonso finally takes control of the situation and says, you know what, Scott, we tried. We really tried. I appreciate your efforts. It didn't go the way that we wanted it to. It didn't go the way that I planned on it, the way that I hoped. But I really want to be a New York Met. Go get me the best deal that you can get me from the New York Mets. And maybe Pete just says, you know what, guys, just give me 4 years. Just give me 4 years guaranteed. Is that too much to ask? As we wait for Hayden here, and we wrap up that topic here. Let me look into your comments here myself. Oof, man, I appreciate you guys so much. Let me see if I can find anything. But let me ask you guys that. You could answer that in the comments real quick. What is the most that you would want to give Pete if you still want to bring him back at this point? Is it 4 years? Is it the rumored 3 years, 90 million with an opt-out after the first 2 years? After each of the first 2 years? Would you give him a 4-year guaranteed deal if he doesn't want any opt-outs, or is 4 years guaranteed too much for you? Would you give him 5 years guaranteed with an opt-out after 2 or 3 years? Or is that too much for you? And I'll be honest, I don't care what the money is. I don't care what the money is. I'm talking about years. I don't know if the Mets and Steve Cohen are in position too much to, haggle too much over money when you out here throwing $800 million plus around. I'm sorry. I know generational talent, but to me, that also makes it hard to play hardball with Pete to a certain extent when you're throwing that kind of money around. Yeah, I know he's 26 years old. That's what Pete is thinking. He's 26 years old. Okay, I get it. But my numbers are still there. Pay me what I'm worth. Why do I have to give you guys a discount? You guys damn near gave this guy part ownership of the team. So I can't understand why Pete himself right now is like, nah, I'm not giving in. But if it's years, you're going to have to give in, Pete. You're going to have to give in. Because I, who want to bring you back, don't want to give you more than 5 years. And I prefer to give you 4. And then, what doesn't help Pete, ladies and gentlemen, we already know what doesn't help Pete either. His numbers kind of dipping. But the fact that you have someone who may or may not be available, and Vladdy Guerrero Jr., who maybe can be obtained through trade, although I don't see that happening. I'll be honest with you guys. I see guys, shout out to my guy Master Flip, who's on a campaign even bigger than the campaign that he was on to give Soto to the Mets, now to give Vladdy to the Mets. This guy has equated it to when they traded for Lindor. I don't think it, too many similarities there, but whatever. I don't see the Mets really making that kind of trade because I just don't know if it's the kind of stuff that David Stearns wants to do and giving away, those chips, those prospects for basically a rental that you don't know if you're going to re-sign. Right? He didn't do it last year for Juan Soto, who's arguably the best hitter in the game. They'd rather take their chance, have taken their chances and waited. So will it make that trade for Vladdy right now? I'm not convinced that they would, honestly. But besides that, we first need to hear if Vladdy's even available. As most of you have said here, 4 years would be the max that you would do for Pete. A couple of you guys have said maybe an opt or a vesting option for a 5th year. You got to remember those opt-outs and stuff like that. That's usually the player that asks for an opt-out, and it's usually for them to get out of a contract, not to add years to it. Unless you have a mutual and stuff like that, and buyouts and all that good stuff. But, again, you have the specter of Vlad Jr. And listen, maybe like a lot of people have said, that is really what David Stearns has his sights on, is going out there next offseason and adding Vlad Jr. onto this team. I, for one, question if that's something that he would want to do. I mean, let's think about it, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about commitment and long-term commitment and giving a player a whole lot of money. See, because some people say the money doesn't matter, who cares, whatever. Other people are worried about, well, I'm not giving Pete Alonso 30 AAV. Who the hell cares? What the hell does it matter to you? What is it? Is it more than he should get? Probably. But I don't give a damn if the AAV at this point, we're giving one player $50 damn million for 1 year. It doesn't matter. He's 26. Okay. I don't care if you give Pete Alonso $30 million. What I don't want is a 39-year-old Pete Alonso. I don't care for that. So I'm not going to give you a 9-year contract when you're 30 years old. That's what I worry about. So they want to give Pete Alonso 4 years, $30 million a year for 120. Go ahead. I don't give a shit. You want to give him $35 million a year to get him closer to that 160 or whatever the hell it was? I don't give a damn. The years is my problem. I don't want to give him more than 4 or 5 years. But do people really believe that David Stearns is going to go out there and want to go next offseason and give Vlad Guerrero what he's probably going to want, which is going to be 10 to 12-year contract worth, I don't know. If you believe what you hear, the Blue Jays have already made an offer of, I believe it's $340 million. I don't know for how many years. Saw something today where they said the Blue Jays and Vlad Jr. are $100 million apart. $100 million apart from what number? I don't freaking know. So that tells me the number has now gone up to at least $440 million. How did you get there? 10 years or better, right? Is David Stearns really going to want to go out there and give out, as my guy Stan says, 12 years to Vlad Jr. when I know he didn't want to give 15 years to Juan Soto? Because we know that's not a David Stearns deal, right? Now, maybe next offseason, Steve Cohen says again, who gives a damn? Give Vlad Jr. 12 years. But I just don't think that goes in line with David Stearns' line of thinking. As we're hearing now with this Pete Alonso saga as we try to move on here. And I don't really have a nice banner set up for this to move on. So we'll take this down. But when we talk about alternatives to Pete Alonso, what the alternative is. For a while, everybody thought the alternative would be sign Alex Bregman, move Mark Vientos to first. Well, it doesn't look that that's going to happen. From everything you hear, it doesn't look that that's going to happen. Then it was bringing Santander, or make a trade, or do this, or do that. Well, it sounds like from everybody you read, whether it be Will Salmon, whether it be Andy Martino, everybody's favorite reporter they hate, whoever the hell it is talking about now the Mets are leaning towards going with the young guys to fill in for Pete Alonso or for the departure of Pete Alonso. And not necessarily just moving Mark Vientos to first base, and we're going to play Brett Beatty at third and Ronnie Mauricio in spring training and see which one of them could take the third base job. And throw Luis Angel Acuna in there. But they're talking about playing all of these guys at third base and most of them also at first base. Now, I think we can eliminate Luis Angel Acuna from playing first base. He's too small. I'm sorry. No offense. Could you maybe throw Brett Beatty at first base? I guess so. We know Mark Vientos has dabbled over there. Could Ronnie Mauricio maybe play first base? Listen, I got to first see Ronnie Mauricio get on the damn field. Now, we're starting to hear lately that he's doing well. I don't know how these guys always come up. I was watching Abriendo el podcast, and they had Mariano Duncan on recently. I think he just debuted last night. I watched it last night. And he's been talking about he's been working with Ronnie Mauricio for a while now. He actually works for the Mets. And he's been working with Mauricio, and they talk about he's making progress and he's looking good lately and all of that good stuff. But first, we need to see Mauricio get on the field, be able to stay healthy, and then get some at-bats, because this is a guy that didn't play for a long time. He missed a whole year. So I don't know how much we could throw Mauricio in there, but we're not going to totally dismiss him. But this is what they're talking about going with. This is the alternative to Pete Alonso. Unless that miracle trade, miracle dream of everybody going to get Vlad Jr. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't like the sounds of that. I don't like the sounds of that. And I'm someone who's talked about I would like to see a Luis Angel Acuna get a chance to win the second base job. Now, we know that certain things need to happen in order for that to happen. You probably need to trade a Jeff McNeil. Well, from everything we hear, forget about trading Jeff McNeil, Hector. Jeff McNeil is being talked about being the starting second baseman. And you can throw Jeff McNeil also as one of those guys that could go jump in that little, whatever the hell you want to call it, to be one of those guys that play third base if Pete Alonso leaves and they start moving guys around. But as of right now, Jeff McNeil is lining up to be the starting second baseman. What does that mean for Luis Angel Acuna? I don't know, but from everything you hear, it sounds like they may want Acuna to go down there to the minors and get some more at-bats. They say, hey, listen, the kid came up and did well in crunch time, in the middle of a pennant race. But we still feel he may need, more time in the minors. They know more than me, I guess. But if it was up to me, I've said it before, and I'm a fan of Jeff McNeil. I think Jeff McNeil can bounce back. I really do. I think Jeff McNeil get out his damn head, and I think he could have a good year. I really do. But I also understand that it may be better. Not because I think Jeff McNeil is a bad person, how some people talk. Not because I think Jeff McNeil is in there causing fights in the clubhouse or anything like that. But as someone who can be a little ornery sometimes himself, as someone who, listen, nobody cares about my fucking weekend warrior shit, right? But as someone who still plays softball and is very hard on himself, and when I play baseball, very hard on myself, when I don't get a hit or when I don't get the job done, I sympathize with Jeff McNeil. And I don't think that makes him a bad guy. I don't think that doesn't mean that he doesn't want to win. I don't think that means that he doesn't push for his teammates. Because I think guys that play with me will tell you, no, Heck is a team guy. At the same time, and I think I've said this before, I've had people tell me like, yo, dude, you got to understand that to you that may work. But you got to understand how it affects the guys around you. See, because I get upset and I play better. But while I'm doing all of this nonsense that I may be doing, that I'm thinking I'm doing it to myself, it may affect the team in a negative way. So I had to learn how to deal with that. Right? So Jeff McNeil needs to get a little bit better. And maybe with Iglesias there last year, it helped them to realize some of that. I think we saw Jeff McNeil. Hey, they kept talking about, what are they? Happy Jeff, right? Happy Jeff. Happy Jeff. Well, I think maybe he's realized that himself. But again, I understand those who have concerns and those who say we'll be better off without Jeff McNeil. You know, as I know, as I look up here at the comments, excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. And I apologize, man. You guys have been great with the comments tonight. You guys are actually too fast with the comments tonight. And it's hard to keep up, like I said. But to one of my comments on Jeff, Carlos says, that would be true if McNeil was still the same batter he was in 2022 and was just struggling. But he's not, heck. McNeil changed his entire approach at the plate and tried to be what he's not. I get it. I get it. But who says that he can't change back? And I'm not saying you, what I don't get, it wasn't just that Jeff McNeil changed his approach. The whole freaking team did, on behest of the coaching staff. Let's not forget, in 2023, they talked about trying to create power because they didn't go out there and sign anyone who had natural power. And weren't willing to give someone like Mark Vientos a freaking fair shot who had natural power. So we're going to try to turn Brandon Nimmo into a home run hitter. It worked for him a little bit, but it's taken away some, right? To the point that it's frustrated some people. And the same with Jeff McNeil, the same with everybody. They all try to create power. Some have been able to figure it out. Some have been able to come out that and find a balance. I'm hoping that Brandon Nimmo comes back next year and has found that balance. Because he found power in 2023, and last year we saw that he struggled with it a little bit, with it a little bit. Or was just his all-around hitting game a little bit. So I don't, I know Jeff McNeil, and again, listen, if he gets traded, he gets traded. I also want to see the young guys. I want the mix of young and old. And I'm intrigued by what Luis Angel Acuna can do. You guys know how I feel about these prospects. I don't give a damn about prospects until I can smell them, until I can see them, until I can touch them. Well, Luis Angel Acuna has now become that. I've seen them with my own eyes. I like what I see. I don't give a damn about what the numbers say, what the scouts say, to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? And Cindy says Acuna's going to get bored again if he's in the minors. Jeff McNeil can go play freaking golf. Cindy and I usually are in line. We're not in line here. Cindy's not a fan of Jeff McNeil, which again is understandable. It's a good point with Acuna because it's been talked about. He said he could see the ball better when he was called up to the major leagues. And then there's people that would say maybe he was bored in the minors. And that happens with some guys. They get bored down there in the minors, right? So, that could have been what happened with him. He finally came up to the majors. The juices flowing, and his true talent came out. Who knows? Who knows? Like I said, I'm I was willing to give him a shot in spring training to win the job. One thing that I have up here that I kind of a topic that I had, I was gonna intertwine it. I'm kind of talking about it. And before I go on, I say that shout out to you guys once again. Over 300 plus subscribers. Make sure we hit that thumbs up, guys. Make sure we hit that thumbs up. Make sure we hit that share button. If you're watching on X, come and join us on YouTube, man. Help a brother out. Help a brother out. I got 1,000 plus followers on X. It'd be nice to get 1,000 plus on YouTube. But right now, we're just trying to go to 500 by opening day. We're at over 320 plus. We appreciate every single one of you. But another guy that I wanted to bring up real quick, because I think falls in line with the topic of Jeff McNeil, Luis Angel Acuna, is Jose Iglesias, right? And I had them here together. And the question still remains, is Jose Iglesias going to come back? And it all depends on how the Mets want to round out their bench. And I think the reason why maybe we're still waiting to see Alan Iglesias and even someone who will mention a Jesse Winker is waiting to see what's going to happen with a Pete Alonso. Because depending on what happens with Pete Alonso, maybe you go and sign somebody, but maybe you don't. Because like we just finished talking about, they're talking about going from within with a combination of the young guys to try to replace Pete. But I thought the easiest way for Jose Iglesias to return would be if you traded Jeff McNeil. Do you bring an Iglesias back if you're going to still hold on to Jeff McNeil? And if you do bring an Iglesias back, does that seal Luis Angel Acuna's fate? And that he's going definitely start in the minors? If Pete Alonso moves on, do you bring Jose Iglesias back as sort of an insurance policy? If these guys, these young guys, none of these guys stands out and takes a job in spring training, and plug him in at third base until you figure something out throughout the year and move Vientos to first? I don't know. But listen, you had Joey Wendell on the roster last year, and you still signed Jose Iglesias, to a minor league contract or whatever the hell it was. But you still signed him. So now maybe this year, regardless of what happens, Jose Iglesias could be that Joey Wendell guy, where you have him and he's that bench guy. I don't know. We'll see. I still think it's a signing that should be pretty easy for the Mets. I don't think Iglesias will be out here trying to, break the bank. I know some people were commenting recently like, oh, he's now also under Scott Boras. He hired Scott Boras, so he wants to get paid. Okay, what's getting paid for someone like Iglesias? I don't know. I've thrown numbers around before. Let's see something real quick as we chat here. Let's see if I can find what everybody likes to look at. What is it? Spot track, however the hell you pronounce that. Just Spot track, I think, as I've heard most people pronounce it. And let's see what they project for Jose Iglesias real quick. But I mean, $2 million a year for Jose Iglesias, is that too much? What do you guys think? A 2-year deal for Jose Iglesias, is 2 years too much to give somebody like Iglesias? Maybe. I can understand why people would not want to do that. What the hell is this crap? Don't mind me, guys, as I try to figure this crap out. Where's the market value shit? Here it goes. Look at that. I'm overvaluing this guy. So Spotrac says a 1-year, $1.7 million deal is what he's projected to get this offseason. You tell me the Mets can't do that or are not willing to do that? They should be willing to do that. So I think Jose Iglesias will come back. When you talk about then a Jesse Winker, as we're jumping all over the place, guys, as we're also going to get ready to wrap this up pretty soon. We're going to wind down here. We'll get back to your comments real quick. And again, we appreciate every single one of you. We appreciate Hayden. Don't know what happened to Hayden. He may not have sent me a message. I haven't looked as I've been trying to just keep it rolling here. But shout out to Hayden and shout out to my guy Crazy who's falling asleep back there behind the scenes, as I haven't even heard from him in a minute. No, I'm kidding. But yeah. So again, according to Spotrac, Jose Iglesias 1.7 million. I saw recently Jesse Winker. As Crazy says, I'm not sleeping, brother. Look, I'm gonna even put you up a comment as my guy. Shout out to my guy Darren. I heard that the Mariners, maybe after Jesse Winker, may have even offered a deal. I'm not sure. I think Jesse Winker's projections are somewhere in the $2 million a year, maybe a 2 or 3 year deal. And I mean, again, I think it's something that the Mets could easily do. It's just a matter of which way they want to go. You know, I'd have no problem, really, if you bring Pete back. If you then sign Jesse Winker and you go with a DH of platoon between Jesse Winker and Starling Marte. I really don't have a problem with that. You know, we talked about the last show, and some people are still talking about other Mets looking for outfield help. I'm not sure the Mets are looking for outfield help when they go and they reach out to Oscar Hernandez. I think the Mets are just looking for a bat, right? Now, the other only like big bat out there that you could go and say maybe we could sign him and throw him in at DH, and this guy could DH every day, is Anthony Santander, right? And he's a switch hitter. So there's no need to platoon him. He platoons his damn self. Now, you know, we know how baseball is now. They get into splits. If he has better numbers, lefty, righty, or this number, this pitcher throws in this lane and his swing path and all of that crap. But as a switch hitter, you would think that he would play every day. Is that something that the Mets want to do? Bring someone to be an everyday DH? We know most teams don't like that. But from all reports that you see, Martino, Will Salmon, they all say the Mets are not interested in those guys, really. If those guys, listen, and you can never count them out because they're always reaching out and letting it be known. So, like I said before, I'm not sure that they offered Teoscar Hernandez a 2-year deal. They may have told him, like, yo, listen, we're interested. If you're willing to take a 2-year deal, come and talk to us. If things don't work out with the Dodgers, come and talk to us. So they may have that out there with a Santander and all these guys. And they'll wait to see if the value of the market, whatever, drops to their lap, like it did last year with a J.D. Martinez. But do you bring in a Jesse Winker? I don't know. Bring that back. What was that? Let me see. Bring that back. I've been a fan of no more McNeil. Bring back Iglesias and having Acuna appear. I like Iglesias as a mentor for Acuna. Listen, Cindy, I agree. I'm just saying everything we're hearing is that Jeff McNeil will be the starting second baseman, and it looks like Acuna will be in a battle to be in that mishmash, whatever the hell you want to call it, to play third and first base if Pete Alonso leaves. But if Pete Alonso comes back, I don't see how Acuna, Iglesias, and McNeil are all on this team. I really don't. Do you really? Because another thing is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure they don't want to have a Luis Angel Acuna at his age, at his level in his development, with the point that he's at in his career, and have him sit on the bench on the major league level. It may not be right. He may be bored. He may be well above that level. But we saw them do it with Mark Vientos last year. They'll send him into the minors so that he can continue to play every day and get reps and get at bats. Luis Angel Acuna, I could be wrong, but Luis Angel Acuna is not going to be your utility guy or your guy off the bench. I don't think. Either he comes into spring training and takes a job, a starting job, or he'll probably end up in the minors. If we have both Iglesias. Nephew, if we have both Iglesias and Acuna and McNeil on the team. Need Winker in the team. He brings that fire and that attitude. We need more energy like that, people. Don't realize that it lights everybody ass up on the team. Listen, I agree, and I think a lot of people agree. Jesse Winker, we've talked about it, gave us that energy that we wanted on this team, that we liked on this team for a long time. At the same time, we have to be careful, I think, that we don't bring a guy back just because of energy. Because let's be honest, if we're blunt, Jesse Winker was driving a lot of us crazy when we got him because of his lack of production. Now, he ended up getting a couple of big hits. He was a lot better in the postseason. But you bring back a Jesse Winker, you bring back a Jose Iglesias because, yes, good clubhouse guys. Jesse Winker brings the fire. Jose Iglesias can be a mentor. Jose Iglesias brings the good vibes. Jose Iglesias will bring us more happy Jeff than unhappy Jeff. But if you don't overpay a Pete Alonso, you're not going to overpay those guys. I'm telling you right now. I am telling you right freaking now. M-Easy, my dude. Jurickson Profar. I worry about guys like that, but listen, can't deny that the guy came out last year and had a hell of a year. Can he duplicate that? Once again, though, he finds himself out there with no contract late into the offseason like he did last year. Winker and Iglesias are the best energy guys, says my guy Stan from Westport. That means Marte and McNeil go. I think that Starling Marte, as my nephew Sleepy says, letting go of Marte don't sit well with me. I think Marte playing more DH, right? Playing more DH than right field and just playing outfield every now and then. You want to give Soto a day off. You want to put Soto at DH. But even still, you don't need to necessarily put Starling Marte out there as you have Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor, right? You could go with an outfield of Brandon Nimmo, Jose Siri, and Tyrone Taylor and put Jose Soto at DH. But I think Starling Marte, as part of a platoon, as a right-handed part of the platoon, with bring that back real quick, please. With a lefty bat, I think Starling Marte can be productive and will be able to stay healthy. Not just because of energy. Heck, Jesse Winker had 10 RBIs in the postseason. Did he really have that many? Nah, get the fuck out of here. 10 RBIs, bro? Shit. Son of a gun. Bring him back. No, listen. Jesse Winker is one of those guys that when we go to Atlanta and Philadelphia, he's the first one talking smack and walking with an attitude. That spreads him. Listen, you're right. You know what? That's a great point, Carlos. Because many times, for many years, it felt like the Mets had already lost as soon as they get off the plane in Atlanta. Right? But when you have a guy like Jesse Winker who's ready to fight anybody, to start fights, who's ready to go out there and rip somebody's head off, even if he's not, but gives off that impression, yeah, that could rub off on guys to not be intimidated and stuff. I agree with that. That's a great point. But yeah, listen, I'm all for bringing those guys back. I'm all for bringing those guys back, but I'm also not against upgrading, though. If you can upgrade from Jesse Winker, then you go ahead and do it, damn it. So for example, if the Mets for some, say, you know what, to hell with it. We're gonna bring Pete Alonso back. And we're gonna sign Anthony Santander to come in and DH. And we'll still keep Marte. We'll give Marte some DH, some right, some outfield, whatever. Whatever the hell they decide to do there. Then I don't need Jesse Winker. I don't give a damn how much fire he has. Now, the 10 RBI in the postseason is, right? Because, listen, we know somebody on the other side of town who's a great ball player, who's talked about being the best player in the game right now in Aaron Judge. And Yankee fans will tell you right now, they don't give a shit what he does all of 2025. All they're concerned with is getting back to the postseason and Aaron Judge finally and carrying them to a World Series win by producing on the field during the playoffs. So when you have on the opposite end a guy like Jesse Winker, who, okay, a regular player, but is going to step up and give you 10 RBIs in the postseason, man, it's like, damn, okay. Hey, but Pete Alonso stepped up in the postseason too, but some of us want to dismiss it. Cindy says, Carlos, exactly. Yes, Hector, he did. I was pissed when they were starting J.D. Martinez. We all were. Fucking J.D. Martinez. We don't want to bring that guy back. I'll tell you that much. We need Winker. I don't know. We need him, Cindy. We need Winker plus Inker. I mean, she means Winker and Lindor have been friends for a long time. That is true, too. That is true, too. But hey, Francisco Lindor and Tomas Nido play Little League Baseball together. You want to bring Tomas Nido back? I'm kidding, Cindy. Tommy Izzo, what's up, Tommy? Tommy says definitely like Winker. If we can upgrade with a Santander, I'd say buy Winker. But if you, oh man, I'm glad you bring this guy up. But if you're just getting Verdugo, don't do that. Listen. Where's my guy Joel? Is he up in here? Shout out to my guy Joel, the Lomeo, who we were texting a little bit before and said, that's it, I've had enough. Now I'm really pissed when he saw that the Mets had spoken to Alex Verdugo. Come on, David. Come on, David. What are we doing? We definitely take Jesse Winker over Alex Verdugo. Now, as we move on from the alternatives and this and that and signing a bat, because we do kind of need a DH. We need another big bat. We need Pete Alonso. I repeat, we need Pete Alonso. Because there's no other bat out there right now that can replace Pete Alonso. Until that trade is made for Vladdy Jr., I don't want to hear about Vladdy Jr. Tired about hearing about Vladdy Jr. We need a freaking bat. We need a big bat to put in the middle of that damn lineup. And then we need a freaking DH. Or a combination of a DH or whatever. Yeah. Shout out to my guy Petey, man. And I hope you get better, Petey, man. My guy Petey, you guys know Petey. Psycho Jets fan. My guy does the Jets commute every Monday morning. Every weekday morning. Monday to Friday, 8 to 10. You catch him and all his Jets lunatics chopping it up, figuring out the Jets. They got all the solutions, but they got no solutions. Anyways, my guy Pete, under the weather today, man. Hope you're getting better, Petey. Shout out to you. Where were we? As I get interrupted here. But, yeah, man. No freaking Alex Verdugo. And hell yeah, man. Go all out. Bring Pete. Bring Santander. Why not? Why the F not? Another thing this team needs, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of you guys' opinion, is more bullpen help. right? This team needs bullpen help. Now, we heard recently from Will Salmon, from even Andy Martino, that the Mets have met with Tanner Scott, who is the best arm available out there, right? The best available arm out there right now, Tanner Scott. And Will Salmon says, the Mets met with Tanner Scott, league sources said. So there's at least some appetite for at least exploring the top of the reliever market. Though doesn't mean they ultimately add from there. So they're talking, but the belief is they're not going to do it. Why? We know a guy like Tanner Scott is going to ask for a big commitment. And we know David Stearns is allergic to those type of commitments, right? Now, I don't know if there's been talk of what he's looking for, if any team has offered him anything or anything like that. I do think though, shit, you bring in a Tanner Scott, a lefty, which we like for whatever reason the Mets refuse to have a good lefty in their bullpen. I mean, listen, my bad. We had Brooks Raley. Unfortunately, the guy is hurt or got hurt. Should be back by middle of this year. It's still an option out there that the Mets maybe could bring back. We'll see how that goes. We thought about trying to get into some of that stuff, but I do want to get out of here. As it's already been an hour and 20 minutes. Even by myself, I can't shut the hell up. But we know that already. But let's see. Tanner Scott, Spotrac has him for 16.4 AAV. They're projecting him to get a 4-year deal around $65 million range with that 16.4 AAV. Is that something that the Mets will be willing to do? That's the thing, Cindy. He's a closer. He's going to want a closer's contract. Now, we have a closer, but we have a closer that leaves a lot to be desired sometimes. That makes us nervous, right? That we're looking to see now how he's going to bounce back after getting a year under his belt, after coming back from a huge surgery, big surgery, after missing an entire year, right? I believe it's after next season where he has an opt-out in his contract. Does Edwin Diaz opt out after next year? So you want to bring Tanner Scott in now and you have his replacement already in-house? While he could serve as a setup man / closer this year, kind of sharing that closer role with Edwin Diaz. And we've seen lately, even Carlos Mendoza this past season will use Edwin Diaz in any spot. So the same can be with Tanner Scott. And maybe one day Edwin Diaz comes in early because it's a right-handed part of the lineup. And Tanner Scott gets an opportunity to close. And obviously with these guys, you know, with closers, it don't matter lefty, righty. It don't really matter. But yeah, Darren, Scott probably wants 4 years and Stearns probably wants 1, maybe 2 tops. I think I read where David Stearns have never given out more than 1 year to a reliever, even in his time in Milwaukee. Stan says, shout out to my guy Stan, who says Tanner Scott's stats are phenomenal. He gave up only 1 home run. Wow. It really is that so? Only 1 home run in 2024. That's incredible. Sign that guy on. Sign that guy on. Because listen, when you look at the rest of the guys, like, man, listen, when you look at the bullpen, I was looking at an article by who's this guy? Thomas Harrigan on MLB Network. And you look at the bullpen guys available, and man, listen, it really, isn't much. When you look at the top of the guys available, you got Tanner Scott and Jeff Hoffman. We know Jeff Hoffman wants to try to start, so he's probably out. And we just finished talking about Tanner Scott. You go below that, you got guys like Kirby Yates, David Robertson, Kenley Jansen. I maybe could entertain Kirby Yates. Maybe in the minority here. I want no parts of David Robertson. Been there, done that enough. Whatever. Kenley Jansen, Listen, wish him all the best. The guy's always having to miss time. He has the heart issues, this and that. I don't want to go there. Then you go to another tier. This guy has him like in semi-quasi tiers or whatever. And he calls these guys the other pitchers with recent closing success. Carlos Estevez, Paul Sewald, Kyle Finnegan, Jose Leclerc. Come on, give me a break. Maybe Carlos Estevez out of that group. I don't really like Carl Finnegan. I think about us knocking him around. Paul Sewald, give me a break. Maybe a Jose Leclerc. Because he gave my homie KK a signed baseball. Shout out to Jose Leclerc. Shout out to my homie KK. Hope she's doing well. At a game one day, the kids were driving Leclerc crazy. Mets were playing Texas. And I started talking to him in Spanish. You know how that works. Easily got a baseball. Master Flip, what up, my guy? Yo, you just went to what I was going to say. We heard David Stearns himself say, as Master Flip says, if they're done with the rotation, which we keep hearing that they may be, unless, as we'll close out, we'll get to something else real quick. But bring that back. I'm not done reading, man. Build a strong back into the pen. David Stern said this himself when I believe it was John Heyman asked him in those GM meetings, winter meetings, whatever the hell it was, about how to build a pitching staff. He said, listen, it's not just the rotation. There's different ways to build a staff. Another way is by building a strong bullpen. Well, if you're not going to, and listen, he may feel like he has a strong, Flip, he may feel like he has the strongest rotation, even if we don't. He may feel like with his project, he has a strong enough rotation. But no, damn it, go out there and freaking get Tanner Scott to make that back end of the pen strong, to add to the Daniel Nunez, who hopefully, because who do we have as for sures in the bullpen, right? We got Daniel Nunez. I guess we got Jose Buto. Who the hell knows what they're going to do with Jose Buto, but we'll throw him in the bullpen for now. You got Jose Buto. You got Reed Garrett. You got Edwin Diaz. Who else we got? You know? Now, is Daniel Nunez going to finally give us a healthy year? Even before last year, he was somebody who was had dealt with injuries in the minors. That's why we finally saw him last season. And we saw he couldn't pitch the whole time. I'm rooting for the guy. You guys know I had him as a passenger. It's my dude. De lo mío. Personal. So I want him back, but can we really count on him? What is Reed Garrett? Hopefully he's figured something out. We heard Reed Garrett early on last season when he was having success, talking about, this is the first time I've had this much success. I don't even know what to do with it. I'm trying to figure it out. Is he going to come back now being able to handle that and being able to have that success and sustain it? We don't know. Talked about what Xander Diaz is going to be coming back. Now with a full year under his belt, after missing a season, after having a freaking surgery on his knee. So I'm with you, Flip. Go out there and build that strong bullpen you talked about. When you move on from those guys, my guy who was it here? Thomas Harrigan, right? Was that his name? Thomas Harrigan. Sorry, apologize. Want to make sure I give him his proper dues. Then he has a list here of the best right-handers available besides that. Andrew Kittredge, Tommy Canley, Kendall Graveman. I might be intrigued by Canley. As Stan says, Budo and Nunez are better than Reed Garrett. I probably agree with you. But again, Nunez has to stay healthy. And what the hell is Buto? Do we need Buto to start because Clay Holmes doesn't work out? I don't freaking know. Best available left-handers, AJ Minter, Danny Colon, Tim Hill, Andrew Chafin, and Brooks Raley, which I mentioned. Maybe you bring back a Brooks Raley, giving him his time to come back, you know? Excuse me a second. As Darren says, Mets need lockdown lefty like Scott to shut down lefty bats like Ohtani, Harper, and Olsen. I agree. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Here's the other name. Here's the other name that I was forgetting. Danny Young, right? He's obviously not a lockdown lefty. But Danny Young gave us some big outs last season. I'm intrigued by what a Danny Young could do going forward. I really am. I'm intrigued by that. I want to see what he can do. He got us some big outs early on when the season was in the balance. What was it? I think it was against St. Louis. And my biggest first impression of Danny Young came by him getting some big outs against some right-handers, I believe it was. And I apologize because I'm horrible at remembering these things. But if I remember correctly, his first big that impressed me, he came in and it was like, what the hell are we doing, Mendy? Why are you bringing in this freaking lefty to face these righties? But they really had nowhere else to go. And the dude stepped up and got the outs and did well for a while, and then maybe got a little tired there. Maybe was used more than he should have. Maybe was asked whatever and struggled a little bit. But then he got a little bit better, got some big outs in the playoffs and all that good stuff. So Danny Young is the other guy, but agree. We definitely need to bring in a lefty to lock things down. As Stan from Westport says, Clay Holmes is going to be very good at starter. I hope so. Man, it's already been an hour, about to be an hour and a half, and Hayden never came back. Hayden left us hanging. Lucky for us that we got no problem talking nonsense, right? Carlos says we should give Duane Sanchez a call. That's when you know it's time to go, ladies and gentlemen. That's when you know we're getting close to the end. I don't know if I threw this name around or not, but we know the Roki Sasaki decision is getting close. He's expected to sign somewhere between July 15th, when the new international free agency signing period opens and then all the teams get a new allotment of money, and January 23rd, which is when his 45-day window expires. We know already, we've talked about it, 20 out of 30 teams, I think, sent presentations. Depending on who you believed, he met with 5 or 6 teams. The Mets were obviously one of those teams. More recently, we've heard, I think it was Bob Nightingale, I forget who it was. If it wasn't him, I apologize to whoever it was that said they believe it is down between the Yankees and the Padres. There was even someone who said, I don't know if it was on Baseball Night in New York, but that I was also watching earlier today. I think it might have been, it was Martino. I think one of you guys said it in the comments earlier. Who, we know Martino is probably not as bad as some of us say as a reporter when he's just reporting. But when he's giving his opinions, it can be a little frustrating sometimes. And sometimes it looks like, it appears like he enjoys throwing cold water on the Mets or just irritating us Met fans. Shout out to Andy Martino. But more importantly, I just looked up at the screen. Shout out to you, beautiful people, as we go on and on and on here. And you guys keep joining. And we're now over 500 of you beautiful people. But we saw Martino say earlier today that the belief throughout the industry is that Sasaki has kept don't feel, or maybe it was the industry. I mean, I need to go back if I'm going to quote the guy or whatever. I'll talk about what he said. But the point is something along the lines that the Mets are not believed to be the best place for him. What? We got the best damn pitching lab in the game. What are you talking about? We got the highly touted Jeremy Hefner. What are you talking about? We may not be the best destination or the best spot for him. Give me a break. We can make this guy thrive. Does he not see what we do with pitching? Bring back Diekman. Oh, my God. Aaron Judge specialist. You guys are in the mood tonight, huh? We're giving Duane Sanchez a call. We're bringing him back Diekman. What are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing? But no. So we'll see what happens with Saki. I'm still going to hold our hopes. I don't give a damn what nobody says. It's still early. Not early, but until we've been eliminated, we're in the game, right? So, so we'll see what happens. Appreciate that, Carlos. Hit those thumbs up as I get tongue-tied here. As we close out, ladies and gentlemen, again, we'll see what happens with Roki Sasaki. Decision will be coming soon. We may be having to come out here 2 times next week when we do our show next Tuesday. It'll be the 14th. So it'll be a day before, he can officially sign. Or he's expected to sign. So we may have to do another show if we end up signing Sasaki. Who the hell knows? That should be fun. And, of course, you guys know if we end up signing Pete Alonso, we'll pop up. But one thing that's been going through my mind, a couple of things that have been going through my mind as we close out, let me make sure we've hit everything. Yeah, I think we pretty much hit everything. And I'll try to go in the comments real quick and see if I see anything that I want to touch on real quick. But something I've been wondering about, and I've been trying to look, and it looks like he should be okay. But when they talk about the Mets may be out there looking for outfield help. Again, I don't think they're looking for outfield help. I just think they're looking for any bat. But it made me think, is there any concern with Tyrone Taylor? Right, he did have 2 surgeries in the offseason. Now, both surgeries is expected. I think one was a hernia surgery, umbilical hernia surgery, I think it was. The other one was clearing some loose bodies in the elbow or something like that. Both 2-month recovery, both happened in October, November, December, January. He should be ready to go spring training, but you do still wonder, how does that affect him in spring training? Does he have to take it slow? Is he get off to a slower start than everybody else? Does he start out the season in the minors or in a rehab assignment? Who the hell knows? It doesn't sound like it, but I do wonder, is them looking out there looking for outfielders, is that because again, insurance for Tyrone Taylor, they do still have Jose Siri, but also made me think, hey, whatever happened to Siri? We know he got hit by a pitch. There was talk that he may not be able to keep playing in winter ball, but I just saw that he made a great catch off of Robinson Cano last night, I think it was, or recently, yesterday. So he's still playing. So obviously he's still fine. Hopefully Tyrone Taylor is fine, and we don't have to worry about that. Listen, blunt thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. One thing that's been on my mind, I haven't really discussed with anyone. I haven't really seen anyone else discuss or bring up, and it's Francisco Lindor and his recovery from the back. I'm pretty sure we're all assuming that he's perfectly fine, but backs are very tricky. We know that he got injections and all kinds of stuff, and who knows whatever else they put in his body so that he could be able to go out there and play. Hopefully he's fine. We've seen him working out. We see videos of him working out and all that good stuff. So I'm going to assume he's okay. But I do wonder how that's going along, how that's going to affect him coming out in spring training and all that good stuff in the cold out here in New York to start out the season. And, but hopefully that's okay. But just things that, blunt thoughts that I'm thinking about. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I wanted to see if Hayden had any thoughts on that. But again, hoping he's okay. And I kind of mentioned this before, ladies and gentlemen. I do look at the way that David Stearns is approaching the offseason, and you take into account what he's done before. And I even have seen some people say, well, hey, guys, Met fans, this team is really going to go all out, all forward in 2026. What? Hell effing no. I don't want to hear that shit, David Stearns. You go out and you put your best foot forward right now. You went and you signed the biggest name out there this offseason. Not as part of a building block to get things started. As a piece to add to what you already have that was good. You just went to a freaking NLCS. Now, yes, I admit, and I think we all admit, there's some luck involved in that. Right? The Braves, injuries, whatever. Do you expect them to be better? But I don't want to hear it. And many of our believe this team was good enough to compete last year for a playoff, and they did. They showed you that they could do that. Now, you had part of it. I give you your credit. You had the Tyrone Taters, the Harrison Baders, the Sherman Nines, and the Severino that worked out. So it's emboldened you to go with more projects and the starting rotation again. Those projects better work out. Because that shit is going to get tiring here in New York. Listen, I'm someone that has said, I want to find diamonds in the rough. I want to be innovative. I want to be proactive instead of reactive. I appreciate the pitching lab. All of that stuff is good. But don't forget you are in New York. And you got money to work with. You don't have to just operate that way as you were forced to do out there in Milwaukee. So, yeah, it's great to see you bring those practices over here, but use them with the money that you have also. Don't let the biggest deal made be made by the owner in the Juan Soto deal. And then every deal that we see you make has to have some kind of benefit for you. Because even the Shao Mania deal is an extremely team-friendly deal. Go out there and try to win in 2025. You evaluated last year, and while you evaluated, we went to our NLCS. Keep improving this team now and in the future, yes. Sustained success is what we all want. But this team right now has a window. They're in their window. Juan Soto might have a 10-year window, but Francisco Lindor only has a 4 to 5 year window. Brandon Nimmo only has a 4 to 5 year window. Edwin Diaz might be gone after this season. You have pieces now to win. Stop messing around and go out there and get some damn ball players. We are in a window to win right now. Right now. even with the project bullpen. I mean, with the project starting rotation. At least that's how I feel. I'm pretty sure that's how a lot of you guys feel. But does David Stearns feel that way? And yes, I know it may be in the comments. I think Carlos said it before. A lot of guys just said it. We know this. Shout out to my guy Jeffrey. I don't know if he's in here. Who's been saying this a lot lately. The roster we have now, the roster we're going to. That is not the final roster, right? So a roster is going to evolve throughout the year. Moves are going to be made throughout the year. I get all of that. But act like you want to win right now, man. Figure this thing out with Pete Alonso. And if it's not going to work, go ahead and pivot. But don't tell me the pivot is going to be to experiment with a bunch of young guys. Because that's going to make me very, very uncomfortable. This team can win. This team is in its window to win. But I don't want to wait. And listen, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees. But I don't want to feel like, oh, we're still looking more ahead towards this, towards that. Anyways, we'll see how that works out. As we wrap up here, let me get up in these comments, see what we got here with you guys. Man, over 580 beautiful of you beautiful people up in here, man. I appreciate you guys, man. And again, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you're on X, come on over. Come on over. Join the party. Help a brother get to 500 at least before spring training. We're up over 320 plus of you beautiful people before this show. We don't know what's happened so far, but we appreciate you guys. My guy Stan says, folks, we have to chill. Stearns and Cohen know what they are doing. Trust them. Opening day roster will surprise and mess with can go back to NLCS and beat the LA Dodgers this time. Play Detroit in the World Series in 2025. All right, Stan. I hear that. Listen, and when you guys see me get worked up, and this is all for discussion, right? So for discussion. This is why you don't see me doing videos every day, talking about every single rumor, and talking about bring this guy, bring that guy. Like, nothing against anybody that does all that stuff. It's just because it gets old. It gets old, right? And like Stan says, for the most part, not for the most part, these guys know what they're doing. Stearns know what he's doing. Cohen is learning. You know what I'm saying? And right now, I don't have any reason not to trust them. But like I always say, I trust them. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to react and give my opinions of how I feel along the way, right? And there is part of me that's like, yo, what are we doing here? Are we really trying to win in 2025? Because just signing Juan Soto and bringing Sean Manaea back is not enough. You bring Pete Alonso back, then we're talking. You don't bring Pete Alonso back, and you freaking go with this mishmash of young. We'll be right back. Oh, there we go. I don't know if you guys can hear me talking quickly, but I was having a little issues there. But we're back. We're back. We are back. So yeah, I agree. More moves to be made. Ladies and gentlemen, that is an hour and 45 minutes. I think that's enough of me rambling. I apologize. I don't know what I said to make you have nightmares, Carlos, but trust me, that's not my intention. I apologize to I see a lot of comments. Stoney, what's going on, Stoney? How you doing, man? Yo, John, what's up, John? Good to see you. I apologize to you guys if I couldn't get to the comments. If the comments weren't highlighted, you guys know the deal. If you see the comments get highlighted and I don't say anything, that's just my way of saying hello. So there's that. Got a little bit into too much talking. Maybe didn't focus on the comments as much as I like to, but I do want to acknowledge you guys like I always do and say thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for joining me. And this is listen. Oh, this is therapy, man. Oh, this is therapy. You come in here feeling a certain way. We hopefully feel a little bit better. We let some things out. I rant and rave a little bit. I get excited. I go up. I go down. And we all feel good. You guys get to give your blunt thoughts in the comments. And it's all good. Is that official? I saw that right before the show started. I saw something pop up on my phone that Verlander and the Giants something, but I didn't look into it. So is that official? Justin Verlander to the San Francisco Giants. Oh my gosh. Hopefully it's only a 1-year deal. Hopefully it's something like $30 million and not $50 million or some crazy amount that only Steve Cohen would have gave him. And hopefully he produces for them. I know they've been trying to spend money. I know they're trying to get guys over there, but Jesus, Justin Verlander, give me a freaking break. I wonder who the hell is going to sign Max Scherzer. maybe David Stearns. Yeah, right. Stan says he's 100 years old. Does anybody know the terms of the deal? Oh, they haven't been put out there. But yeah, so Justin Verlander to the San Francisco Giants. Interesting. Stan says he's 100 years old. He's just very close to it. Very close to it. I think that does it, ladies and gentlemen. That is another edition of Blunt Thoughts on a Tuesday night. A lot longer than we wanted to. Like I said, shout out to Hayden who disappeared on us very early on. Thank you, Alex. 1 year, 15. Hey, that's reasonable. He will come in from the bullpen with a walker. That's reasonable though. 1 year, 15 million for the Giants. Listen, I don't knock him for taking that shot. Good luck to him. Good luck to them. Now go make a deal with Pete Alonso. Force the Mets' hands. See what happens. Oh my God, sorry. But yeah, guys, we'll see what happens. Like I said, thanks again for joining another edition of Blunt Thoughts and letting me rant and rave and just talk to you people and get it out of my system and have some fun. As of right now, we should be back next week unless something happens with Pete Alonso. Unless any other kind of breaking news, something interesting happens. We may do little reaction videos to stuff besides just going live. But as of right now, Lex Live will be on Tuesday as we've, settled into this once a week on Tuesday nights. Shout out to my guy Crazy. You guys usually see him in the comments. I don't know if he's put up any of his own comments in the chat, but he helped me out back here today, just highlighting some comments and helping me move things along. Shout out again, once again to Hayden, who joined us for a little bit there. And we'll find out what happened there. Obviously, he had some technical difficulties, but we'll get him back, and we'll do this again. And most importantly, shout out to you guys, man. Shout out to you guys. Thanks once again, and we'll see what happens, man. But one thing never changes, ladies and gentlemen. One thing never changes. Like I say, we may differ on our opinions. We may get a little heated every now and then. We may make it back and forth. But the one thing that we all have in common is we all want to be in that Canyon of Heroes celebrating the New York Mets as they win a World Series championship. Will that be in 2025? Who the hell knows? But I'm sure hoping it is. So as always, everybody have a good night. Stay safe. And let's fucking go Mets for my guy Pete Alonso. Peace out, y'all.
Full of animals and we made ourselves with minimal. Fuck you, no subliminals. Putting in this work, nigga. That's why they feelings hurt, nigga. Swear we need a hearse cause we rep our shites to the dirt, nigga. If I'm in the club